Hey friends, welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Oleg, and this is one and only Mr. Bond. You've probably heard by now, but we like watches. In today's video, we're going to do a full review of the Squale GMT. I've been curious about Squale watches for a long time, just haven't had a chance to review one until now. A local subscriber named Jen, huge shout out to Jen, has lent this watch to us for the review, and that's how we got our hands on it. So what kind of impression has this watch made on us so far? Do we like it? Do we hate it? Let's get into all of that right now. Let's begin by talking about case dimensions. The watch has a diameter of 40 millimeters, so from this point to this point, but excluding the crown and the crown guards, it's 48 millimeters from one lug to another, so from this point to this point. It has a lug opening of 20 millimeters, and it's about 12.5 millimeters thick. Here's the watch in my 7.5 inches or just under 20 centimeters wrist. For the most part, it's a very comfortable watch to wear. 40 millimeters wears well on most sizes of wrists. I also like the fact that it has first female links, so the watch is a true 48 millimeters. If you have a medium to smaller size wrists, I'm happy to report this one shouldn't hang past your wrist. On the supplied stainless steel bracelet, the watch feels confident and comfortable on the wrist. It feels nice and solid. The one thing that I don't like about the fit of this watch is how thick it appears. It's not a very thick watch. 12.5 millimeters is not a thick watch for this type of a diver style GMT. However, on this watch, for some reason, the thickness really shows. I don't know why, maybe it's the way the case is designed, but the watch does sit quite tall on your wrist and you do feel that thickness. It is also a hefty watch, 143 grams. Not too heavy, not too light, actually very similar to the weight of ROLEX GMT Master 2. Speaking of ROLEX GMT Master 2, of course a lot of parallels could be drawn between the design of this watch and the Rolex. This one here is a very strong homage, almost a copy in a lot of ways. First of all, the case strongly resembles a Rolex case. We have a polished finish on the sides of the case and a brushed finish on top of the lugs. The brushing and the polishing looks pretty good. Nice sharp angles and nice transitions between the two finishes. We have a screw down crown at the 3 o'clock position with the Squale logo. Pretty nice action on this crown. So the first position, that's the position to adjust the GMT hand and the date. When you rotate the crown in one direction, that's how you change the date. When you rotate the crown in the other direction, that says the GMT hand. As you can see, the seconds hand is still ticking. Now once we pull the crown into the second position, the seconds hand stops ticking, and that's how you would set the time for the primary time zone. Once the time is set, simply push the crown in, and the ticking seconds hand resumes ticking. Screw the crown back in place. The crown action, the knurling, is all pretty good. Also, the crown is of a good size. I have no complaints about the crown action on this watch. Flipping it over to show the case back, it's a pretty nice case back. Nothing special about it though, just Squale logo in the middle and some information about the watch, and it's a simple screw down case back. Now the watch does have 300 meters of water resistance, or 30 atmospheres. Actually, the case used on this watch is the exact case from Squale 30ATMOS. You can tell that by the bezel action. It has a unidirectional 120 click bezel. So the bezel is not bidirectional as you would expect from a GMT watch. Bezel action, even though solid, is very springy. As you can see, every time you turn bezel, it kind of comes back to its original position. It has a little bit of play. It's almost as if it's spring-loaded, so it wants to go one and then kind of come back a little bit. Also, the bezel is very slightly misaligned. It's not too bad, but you can notice it if you look closely enough. The design of this bezel is a very strong homage or a copy of Rolex GMT Master 2. Another part of the watch that's a strong homage or a copy of Rolex GMT Master 2 is its dial. It has a deep black dial that provides a lot of contrast between the white indices and the black dial. Also, all white writing except for GMT written in red and the red GMT hand. All the indices are applied and they look pretty good. However, they do look like straight up copies of Rolex GMT Master 2. You also see a date window at the 3 o'clock position with a date frame around it, open rail track for seconds keeping, and the seconds hand reaches all the way out to the edges of this dial. Speaking of the hands, it has different set of hands from a Rolex GMT Master 2, which is a welcomed addition. This is actually kind of a Mark II of Squale 1545. The Mark I did have Mercedes hands. The Mark II here has sword style hands. I think that's a good look. It looks pretty good with this design and creates a little bit of distinction between this and the GMT Master 2. Not too much writing on this dial, just Squale written closer to the 12 o'clock position, GMT, automatic, and 30ATMOS written closer to the 6 o'clock position, and Swiss made all the way at the bottom there. That's right, this is technically a Swiss made watch with a Swiss made movement. This one is powered by the ETA caliber 2893-2 automatic movement. It has 21 joules, beats at 28,800 beats per hour, has 38 hours of power reserve, and overall a pretty good solid movement. Of course, has a GMT function and a date function. It has a flat piece of sapphire crystal with a few layers of AR coating. It also has a sloped bezel, so integration of the bezel to the crystal is brilliant. It has pretty much zero gap. Here's a lume shot for you. Looks like it has BGW9 Super Luminova. It's alright, however the set of hands could use a few more layers of lume, as well as the triangle at the 0 o'clock position or the 24 hours o'clock position on the bezel. As you can see, the bezel is lumed, but the lume on that triangle especially is not evenly applied and did leave some gaps. So I wish they did a little bit more of quality control on this timepiece. This watch comes on a 5-link stainless steel bracelet. If I was allowed to call this a Jubilee bracelet, that's exactly what I would call it, since Rolex gets upset whenever people call bracelets like this Jubilee bracelet when they're not on a Rolex watch. I'm just gonna call it a 5-link stainless steel bracelet. Brushed outer link, polished metal links, a clasp here signed with the Squale logo, fold over safety guard, no release pushers, it's a simple friction clasp, and it's an engineered clasp. It has 4 micro adjustments and screw in place pins, solid links, solid end links, and overall the quality of this bracelet feels great. Doesn't have too much play, but just enough to make it comfortable. I think they did a great job with this bracelet. I haven't talked about the price of the watch yet, so it's priced at $799, basically $800 US. Even though the watch is price competitive comparing to other GMT style watches with similar specs, if you compare this to some of the mainstream brands, of course mainstream brands would be a lot more expensive. If you compare this watch to a micro brand GMT, there are some similarly priced, similarly spec'd watches. However, what this watch has in its disadvantage is the fact that it's a GMT Master 2 homage. I would have wished and preferred this watch being an original design. It would have gotten a lot more brownie points. It's a pretty good solid watch with some quality control issues. If it were to fix all these issues and come up with an original design, I would be really impressed. As it is right now, it's a pretty good watch, but to me it just seems like another homage of Rolex GMT Master 2 with a Squale logo printed on its dial. And if that's what you're looking for, nothing wrong with that. I don't think you'll be disappointed with this homage. Yes, it has some quality control issues, but at the end of the day, it's a pretty solid watch. If you're looking for something a little bit more unique, I think you should look somewhere else. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I certainly appreciate you watching it until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We release new videos every week. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about the Squale GMT and what do you think about Squale watches in general. Do you have any experience with them? Leave your thoughts below. I always enjoy reading your comments. By the way, today on my wrist, I'm wearing my Casio. Beside, I did a full review of this watch. That video can be found on the YouTube channel. I will also leave it linked in the description below. Also, in the description below, there are a couple of other links. The first link is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. The second link is a link to bondnatostraps.com. If you're looking for a great quality NATO strap and want to support this YouTube channel at the same time, buying one of these NATO straps is a great way to do so. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Okay. How would you sit?